So what about missing, incomplete, and inappropriate? So we said that those three slow things down, but now what about missing, incomplete, and inappropriate conversations? So missing conversations occur when we fail to use one of the four productive conversations. So if I'm engaged in starting something with Keith, and I never ever have a closure conversation with him, then that's a missing conversation. Closure conversations in organizations are among the most missing. And you'll see more as we go along about what the consequences and the impact of that is. This incomplete conversations occur when we fail to include all the essential elements of a productive conversation. So there are certain ingredients in conversations which, if you leave those out, there are consequences. And if you monitor your communication and keep track of it, as I've had people do for periods of weeks at a time, these things that are left out become really apparent, and you can find them very quickly. It just requires a willingness to kind of pay attention over time. And then inappropriate conversations occur when we use the wrong conversation to accomplish something we want. The most frequently missed area in this case is using conversations for understanding, trying to get people to do stuff. The assumption is if people understand, they'll then do it. They won't. They might, but they won't reliably do it. Now, what happens in missing conversations? When you're missing initiative conversations, people, some of the consequences are people lack enthusiasm. They forget why they're doing it. Any of you working on projects, you don't remember why you're doing it? You can't really recall what you're up to. You've just been doing it for so long, or it's kind of faded into the background kind of stuff. That's the absence of an initiative conversation. It was had at one time. It's no longer around, though. So they lose interest and they lose purpose. People don't remember, why are we doing this? What are we doing this for? Remind me again what I'm doing. Those kinds of things indicate that the initiative conversation has gone out of existence. Understanding conversations, the consequences you get, some of the consequences you get when you don't have this, people are disengaged. They don't step up, they're confused, they operate as, you know, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I need to be told. The issue that Todd was raising earlier and that Peter was raising about I want people to show initiative and all that, they have an insufficient context necessarily for doing that. So this has a predictable impact on people. Performance conversations, you get no results, you get the wrong results, and you get missed deadlines. So if you're really interested in getting something accomplished, this becomes a central conversation, but you can't always use it just by itself. And then finally, with closure, if these are missing, you get a buildup of resentment, cynicism, and mistrust. So far, I've yet to come across an organization that doesn't have some buildup of these. In fact, some of the latest studies indicate that 85% of people are completely disempowered and disengaged at work. You know, that's this kind of stuff. That's a function of closure. How many of you here feel over-recognized at work? You're getting too much acknowledgement? That's a failure of closure. Incomplete conversations. Missing accomplishment ingredients. So one of the things that makes conversations incomplete are they're missing really key ingredients, and many of you will recognize these as the journalism questions, the who, what, when, where, how, and why kind of stuff. And the accomplishment ingredients answer the question called, what are we trying to accomplish? And when do you want to accomplish it? And why is the accomplishment important? Notice it's the what, when, why. What do you want? When do you want it? And why do you want it? Why does it really matter? And because you want it is not why it matters. And because it came down from on high is not why it matters. We did some work with Rolls-Royce up in Mount Vernon. They were going through some restructuring, and we had a meeting with a bunch of the middle level and lower level managers, and we were talking to them and about the change that was going on, and they were really upset about the change. And we said, whoa, you guys don't like the change? No, the change is really good. The organization needs to do these changes, so what's the problem? We don't know why we're doing it. They don't tell us. And the thing that's interesting about the why question is that people want to know a why. There was an interesting study done on people getting in line to do a Xerox machine, use a Xerox machine, a copy machine. And you know, if you walk in, there's a line of people and you walk up and you say, can I get cut in front of you in line? And what do you think people would say? No, they wouldn't ask for it. They'd say no. But if you walk up and said, could I get in line here? I need to make copies. Sure. Everybody in line is to get copies. What do you mean? What's the difference? The why. Why, I don't know, but why makes a big difference for people, okay? Missing resource ingredients. Some of the conversations require the resource ingredients. Who else is involved? Where will resources come from and where will they go and how will it get done? You find that the resource ingredients are critical in both conversations, in understanding conversations and performance conversations. Not so much in initiative conversations and not so much in closure conversations. So those are incomplete. And then inappropriate. Using one type of productive conversation expecting to get the results of another type. As I already pointed out, using understanding conversations expecting people to take action. It's a fundamental belief in education that if we train you, I shouldn't say train you, if we educate you and you now understand you're going to go out and do that, and if you don't go out and do that right away, it'll be stored in your memory banks in such a way that when you encounter those situations, you'll use it, which is so not true. But that's the underlying myth of education is based in that kind of idea. We're very much oriented toward understanding conversations. One of the things we've tried doing here at the Fisher School is adding project-based learning, which has you go out and do stuff and actually try to apply what you've been used, which now gets you more into performance areas as compared to just understanding. And then using only one type of productive conversation when more than one is needed. Using an initiative conversation before a closure conversation is used to complete something. Many of the changes that you start, you shouldn't start until you have closure conversations and clean out all the mess that's left over for people. People in organizations are generally not available for what's next, given all the stuff that's already happened that hasn't been taken care of. So we have unproductive conversations slow things down, missing conversations slow things down, incomplete conversations slow things down, and inappropriate conversations slow things down. Heard differently, slow things down means you don't get what you want, you get a bunch of stuff you don't want.